first surface man to invade our empire, and your knowledge of uranium must die with you. Take him away. Execute.
It is perhaps appropriate that the symbol of Hollywood, a place where fact, fiction, and fantasy meet, where hope and hype blend, should be the result of a promotion. That huge sign that looks down from the Hollywood Hills was created in the 20s to promote a real estate development called Hollywoodland. The land portion of the sign was later removed. £500,000, 450 feet long, the sign is merely colossal in a town where that word is an overworked adjective. But today's Hollywood is more a state of mind than a city. In fact, it's not a city at all. It only has an honorary mayor, no city hall, just a post office in a loosely defined section of Los Angeles. It's generally considered to be bounded by the Hollywood Freeway, by Wilshire Boulevard, and to the west by Beverly Hills. Yet many consider Malibu and Santa Monica's beaches a part of Hollywood. Beverly Hills and Orange County's Disneyland also a part of the Hollywood orbit. Strictly speaking, of the major film studios, only Paramount is in the Hollywood area. Warner Brothers is in Burbank, as is the Walt Disney Studio, where Snow White's 7 dwarfs hold up the administration building. Near Beverly Hills, Century City was carved out of Fox's backlot, and MGM's traditional home is Culver City. Universal created their own city, Universal City, and eventually Columbia moved from Hollywood to Culver City, where it was to become Sony. As Americans migrated west, they discovered towering mountains, great deserts, an uncertain climate, but eventually the Pacific Ocean and the sun. Later on, there came a group of adventurous movie makers trying to escape the clutches of an Eastern film monopoly. They discovered, in a teetotaling religious community, surrounded by lima bean fields, a reliable sun and exotic locales. The wife of a real estate promoter had named the place Hollywood after a farm she had admired in the state of Illinois. Little could those early film pioneers have realized the future of their crude, often zany, filmmaking activities. That in a few years, the namesake of that Illinois farm would create a vast industry, become the entertainment capital of the world, and would create, as sociologists would later claim, America's first and only royalty, its movie stars. Near Cantor's Restaurant on Fairfax Avenue, there's a huge mural and a remembrance of one of those early pioneers, Jesse Lasky. He and his partner, Cecil B. DeMille, rented a horse barn, which looked like this, where they produced The Squaw Man, Hollywood's first feature film. The barn is now the Hollywood Studio Museum, a California historical monument. There was a third partner, an ex-glove salesman named Samuel Goldfish, better known as Samuel Goldwyn, who later became famous for both great pictures and delightful malapropisms, Include Me Out, or A Verbal Contract Is Not Worth the Paper It's Written On. Goldwyn eventually repaid Hollywood for his wealth and fame by giving the Francis Goldwyn Library in memory of his wife. Inside, visitors should not miss a great collection of Hollywood poster art on the walls. There's more of Hollywood at the Studio Museum.
The Hollywood Studio Museum is dedicated to the birth of the motion picture industry here in Hollywood. We have a number of exhibits that are dedicated to the very early days of Hollywood filmmaking. Right now, we're here in a recreation of Cecil B. DeMille's original office, the space that he actually used while working out of the barn in 1913 when he made The Squaw Man. Just over here is a very special piece. It's the typewriter which The Squaw Man was typed on back in 1913 by Mr. DeMille's secretary, a lady by the name of Stella Stray. Mr. DeMille writes in his book that they were paying Stella the outrageous sum of $15 a week for her services, which at that time really was a great deal of money. Well, he had received notification from the Home Office in New York that they were over budget and they were going to have to cut back. First to go was Stella. Well, they tell us she took the news relatively well. She stood up, she put on her hat and coat, picked up her typewriter, and walked to the door. Mr. DeMille said to her, "Stella, where are you going?" She said, "Well, Mr. DeMille, you've just dismissed me." "Yes, Stella, but where are you going with the typewriter?" he wanted to know. "Well, sir, it is my machine," she responded. And indeed it was. She'd come to work for the company with her own typewriter. Well, now, DeMille didn't have the cash to pay her salary. He also didn't have the cash to go out and buy a new typewriter. He rehired her on the spot, though. Stella Stray remained with the company until 1959, when she retired from Paramount Pictures. Mr. DeMille used to feel that the most important piece of equipment in his entire studio was the wastepaper basket that sat beneath his desk. Many people would say, "Of course, Mr. DeMille, that makes perfect sense. It's a film studio. You have cuts, changes, edits, rewrites." Well, the truth of the matter is, Cecil B. DeMille rented out a third of what originally was an L-shaped barn to use as studio space. The owner, Jacob Stern, continued to maintain another third of that barn, literally as a livery stable. He'd come in at night, start cleaning up after the animals, hosing things down. Mr. DeMille would be sitting here at his desk working at night. Everything would run to this corner of the building. He'd be sitting here, his feet would get disgustingly soaking wet. So he would stick his feet into the wastepaper basket beneath his desk to keep his feet dry. Thus, he felt it was the most important piece of equipment in his entire studio. Perhaps one of the most significant pieces we have here at the museum is this chariot. You may recall it from either the 1926 or the 1960 film version of Ben-Hur, as it was used in both the silent and talking versions of the film. In 1926, starring Ramon Navarro, and in 1960, starring Charlton Heston. You may recall from the Heston version, the actor Stephen Boyd was portraying the role of Masala, and he was riding around the Colosseum, knocking off his competitors in that battle with his chariot with the wheel with the spoke of death on it. Well, this indeed is that very chariot, and you can see that wheel right here. We have a number of exhibits here at the museum which include things like different kinds of equipment. Exhibited here in this case is a very special camera that was used by Charlie Chaplin, his personal camera that he used on a number of his films, the last being The Great Dictator in 1940. It was Mr. Chaplin's last silent film. Here we have a Charlie Chaplin-esque costume that was worn by the actress Gloria Swanson in the film Sunset Boulevard. During that film, she put this costume on and did a Charlie Chaplin impersonation for her co-star William Holden during a New Year's Eve sequence. Also here in the case is a costume that was worn by the very first actress to portray the role of Juliet. Back in 1916, the actress Beverly Bain. Also here is a trunk full of personal artifacts and belongings of the wonderful comedian Mabel Normand. Mabel Normand, a contemporary of Fatty Arbuckle's and perhaps the Lucille Ball of her day. The Victrola that stands here in the case as well was the personal property of Rudolph Valentino. Mr. Valentino had this sitting at his home in Falcon's Lair. And the chair that's here in the case was used in the Errol Flynn film version of Robin Hood, and it was in this chair that Mr. Flynn sat conducting his business with his band of merry men.
Culver City challenged Hollywood's preeminence by declaring themselves the heart of Screenland. A major reason? MGM. Here also was a one-time studio of David O. Selznick, now a historical site to commemorate Gone with the Wind. A simple marker remembers the Hal Roach Studios, where early Hollywood zanies created two-reeler slapstick and immortalized the art of custard pie throwing. If you want to relive the aura of the silent film, go to the Silent Movie Theater on Fairfax, which has become a shrine to Hollywood's silent past. To see the stars in person has always attracted people to Hollywood. A major opportunity is the Emmy ceremony. That's the Oscar of the television business. Always so typically Hollywood, the stretch limousines, a huge crowd of fans, and a big press contingent. Kirstie Alley's red dress brought oohs and ahs from all the women in the crowd. An early arrival, Sharon Gless, a previous Emmy winner. Ed Begley Jr. escorting Penny Marshall. Remember Laverne and Shirley? Penny's now an important film director. From the older establishment, with his son, Anthony Quinn. A newer personality, Jackie Henry, she prefers to be called simply Jackie. The Emmys have become an international event. Japan acquires much American television. A big crowd favorite, Mary Tyler Moore. Photographers always yearn for the young star or the aging starlet to appear in some kind of ridiculous costume. Today, they were not disappointed. Always a favorite with the Hollywood press corps, that one-time Disney Bo Peep, Ann Jillian. Ann couldn't decide on which bank of reporters to visit first. Superstar Danny DeVito and his wife, that Cheers barmaid, Rhea Perlman. The organizers, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, is headquartered in North Hollywood. Their Hall of Fame outdoor plaza, which features a golden replica of the Emmy, is flanked by television's all-time reigning queen, Lucille Ball. Also in bronze, television's great are honored, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar. One almost expects Jack Benny to say, well. And in bas-relief, there's Steve Allen and another Allen of Burns and Allen. Hollywood Boulevard also offers a visual view of Tinseltown's great in a series of massive murals. Here, everyone is where they should be, seated in a theater, eating popcorn, watching a movie. This is called Legends of Hollywood, and many play a game here. Who can identify the most stars? But few would have difficulty identifying any in this group. Also remembered is the star of that classic film Flying Down to Rio, Dolores Del Rio. But this picture became a stepping stone to immortality for a Broadway hoofer, Fred Astaire, and a bit player, Ginger Rogers. Close by, a flamboyant representative of the glamour business, Fredericks of Hollywood. They too have a museum, a lingerie museum, which offers a bit of the risque, undergarments from the likes of Lana Turner, Ava Gardner, Cher, and Tony Curtis. Remember, Some Like It Hot? Nearby, Larry Edmunds' bookstore has almost everything ever written about Hollywood and movie making. Hollywood and Vine is one of the world's best-known intersections, now dominated by the huge Capitol Records Tower, built to symbolize a stack of records. Capitol also has a massive mural on which the musical royalty of Hollywood is saluted. On the left, Nat King Cole, and on the right, Duke Ellington. A Hollywood Boulevard institution is the grand old Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where the swimming pool boasts an under-the-water painting by the renowned British artist David Hockney. In the foreground, he autographed the pool in cement. With a bit of Hollywood hyperbole, the hotel claims their painting is worth more than $1 million. The hotel's mezzanine offers a photographic history of Hollywood, and the staff may tell you of the room where Clark Gable and Carole Lombard secretly rendezvoused, the barber shop where Errol Flynn created his own bathtub gin, and show you the ballroom which hosted the first Academy Awards ceremonies, then only a dinner. Mary Martin once appeared in a Cinegrill. Waitresses used to babysit her son, who became that dastardly J.R. of Dallas, Larry Hagman. Just opposite, the Chinese Theater, once Grauman's, now Mann's, unquestionably the most famous motion picture theater in the world. The big reason, a clever bit of showmanship by the original owner, Sid Grauman, of having movie stars leave autographs and footprints in wet cement. From the Silents, Harold Lloyd and Janet Gaynor. In the beginning, Grauman with Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. Jimmy Durante's Schnozzle, and before that, Betty Grable's Legs. Nearby, Roy Rogers left boot prints and Trigger left hoof prints. Many come to photograph the hand and footprints of their favorite stars, even those from far away outer space like R2-D2. The most widely told story, during construction, the silent movie star Norma Talmadge accidentally stepped in wet cement. Grauman had an inspiration, and a Hollywood legend was born. A wife said to her husband, "You expect your fist to be as large as the Duke's, John Wayne?" An old newsreel recalls the ceremony. Thousands of fans watched a young Kirk Douglas being interviewed by a one-time child vaudeville star and later 20th Century Fox producer Georgie Jessel. True to tradition, Kirk Douglas provided his autograph, his footprints, as well as an imprint of that famous Kirk Douglas cleft chin. International media coverage of these ceremonies proved to be a stroke of promotional genius, and thus gave the Chinese theater the reputation of being the best-known motion picture theater in the world. A few years ago, a group of Hollywood businessmen decided if the Chinese theater could achieve fame for its cement, why not all of Hollywood? Hence the birth of the Walk of Fame. Now there are nearly 2,000 stars. Some of those honored achieve fame far beyond movie careers. But this honor may have little meaning to others. Rin Tin Tin was a German shepherd whose silent film saved Warner Brothers from bankruptcy and furthered the career of the eventual 20th Century Fox mogul, Darryl F. Zanuck. He wrote scripts for Rin Tin Tin. Non-entertainment professionals are also honored. Devoted fans have adopted their favorite star. On one Saturday each month, Barry's buffers polish the star of their idol, Barry Manilow. Hollywood people tell you there's a waiting list to polish Marilyn Monroe, but there are many orphan stars for those interested. International celebrities like Tom Jones always attract big crowds for a star-laying ceremony. Encouraged by fan clubs, hundreds gather, and that garners huge media coverage. With him, his son, wife, and mother. This once-a-month ceremony provides a good opportunity to experience a bit of Hollywood hype. Check with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. There may be a ceremony when you're in town. Stars are also presented posthumously. Recently at the Capitol Records Tower for John Lennon of Beatles fame. John's wife, Yoko Ono, accepted. This proved to be a major Hollywood event. Stars are awarded in 5 categories: movies, television, radio, recording, live performance. Guess who has all 5? Gene Autry, who repaid his Hollywood wealth and fame by giving the world the magnificent Gene Autry Western Heritage Museum. Many mistakenly believe this is a tribute to Gene and his movie career. It's not. This $30 million structure houses one of the world's finest collections of authentic Western art and artifacts. I'm with Dr. John Langelier, Director of Research at the magnificent new Gene Autry Western Heritage Museum. Well, John, the whole world knows Gene Autry, but tell me about the Western Heritage Museum.
Western Heritage Museum is an extremely large facility, as we'll see later today on the tour as we walk through, that is dedicated to 6 spirit galleries about the heritage of the West, that is the area west of the Mississippi River in the United States, and about the people who lived here for thousands of years, starting with the American Indian and through many other cultures who brought their own special backgrounds and traditions and created a rich microcosm, a rich mosaic here in the West that makes this area unique, not only in the United States, but in the world.
Well, this is certainly then not a tribute to Gene Autry, this museum, but this is the history of the West. This is the American heritage as we know it today, both the fact and a bit of the folklore and a bit of the fiction of it.
Yes, sir. Strictly speaking, Mr. Autry's role was the father of the idea, and his foundation was instrumental in the funding so that this magnificent new 140,000 square foot facility could be built as a state-of-the-art repository for fine materials. But indeed, he only shows up in a few small portions of the museum, and the folklore portion, as you say, about the motion picture industry and about his special niche in that industry, the creation of the singing cowboy, a kind of a subspecies, if you will, of the Western film.
John described the huge mural in the background, which is an illustration of the history of the West. Here are tributes to the many diverse peoples who figured in that epic chapter of American history. And the mural also pays tribute to the myths of the West, the pulp fiction, the dime novels, Wild West shows, and Hollywood's versions of that American folk hero, the cowboy, both as a real person or as a caricature. In the conquest of the West section, they have their own 4-horse team pulling an authentic Western stagecoach.
Clay, now that you are here into the spirit of cowboy, you can see that we make one important point, that cowboys came in many sizes, shapes, and ethnic backgrounds. For instance, there were black cowboys, Latino cowboys, there were even American Indian cowboys. So the whole myth of the blonde, blue-eyed, 6'2" John Wayne type is more of a Hollywood creation than a reality.
John, perhaps the chuck wagon was the world's first handout restaurant.
Well, to a certain degree it was. There was an etiquette or protocol that said that if a stranger came, you fed him. But usually you had to work for your living, and on a cattle outfit, it was hard work. Here in the spirit of imagination, Clay, we talk about how silent films, later the sound film, radio, recording, and eventually television helped create the various images that we know today as the cowboy in the popular scope of things. Certainly Gene Autry did his fair share of doing that with his colorful costuming and his singing cowboy renditions, along with the other great singing cowboys like Roy Rogers and Tex Ritter, of course, Monty Hale, and that whole special breed of cowboys who could plunk out a tune as fast as draw a 6-shooter.
Near the entrance, there's a sculpture of Gene, appropriately named Back in the Saddle Again. The museum is located adjacent to the 4,000 acres of Griffith Park, an often used movie location. An old-time producer once said when asked to okay an expensive location trip, "A rock is a rock, a tree, go to Griffith Park." The observatory was considered suitable for science fiction films, but James Dean's Rebel Without a Cause was one of the best-known films here. That film and his interest in astronomy is remembered. There are many other remembrances of the past. At Venice High School, there's a statue called the Spiritual. The young student model kept her identity secret for a long time, but later, Myrna Williams became Myrna Loy. There's a park in Hollywood called the Long Prix and a statue called Aspiration. It's dedicated to the screen's great lover, Rudolph Valentino. Rudy is remembered in another way. His desert epics prompted Hollywood High School to name their athletic teams the Sheiks. The Duke is also remembered, the John Wayne Airport in Orange County. Sunset Boulevard stretches from central Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean. In Hollywood, on Sunset, there is a restaurant where Columbia Pictures once stood. The cross street is Gower, and the adjacent mini mall is called Gower Gulch. In early days, movie cowboys in costume would wait on this corner, hoping a studio bus would pick them up for a bit part or as an extra in a low-budget Western, hence the name Gower Gulch. Those were the days of Tom Mix and Hopalong Cassidy. Hollywood old-timers well remember Gower Gulch. They often call this area Poverty Row, reflecting the minuscule budgets of these six-day Westerns. More than 6 days, the film would be over budget, and the producer would be in big trouble with those masters of low-budget Westerns, Harry Cohn of Columbia or Herbert J. Yates of Republic Pictures. Near Gower Gulch, also on Sunset, is Home Savings and more Hollywood lore. Pictured in mosaic are the names of hundreds of movie stars, as well as portraits of Betty Davis and Charlie Chaplin. If you can recall all the names listed here, you're well versed in Hollywood history. Further west is the Sunset Strip, where back in the 30s, this was the center of Hollywood nightlife. Supper clubs like Ciro's and the Macombo were household words. The clubs no longer exist, but there's still an aura of make-believe, due in part to the so-called vanity signs. The purpose, cynics say, is more to soothe superstar ego than to inform the general public. Here, one discovers, personality promotion takes very interesting forms. Movie hopefuls employ billboards, hoping to convince producers they're the new Marilyn Monroe. Physical characteristics are duly noted, as well as agent's telephone number. Also on the script is the headquarters of the Directors Guild of America, the people who direct movies and television. One of their finest was remembered nearby. Rocky and Bullwinkle achieved fame in a different way. On the Strip, one can enjoy a California patio breakfast and watch Hollywood power brokers follow the trades. Not the trade winds, but trade publications like The Hollywood Reporter or Daily Variety. For these Hollywood insiders, their early morning digestion can be helped or hindered by reading of yesterday's box office take or last night's TV rating. Back of the Strip are those famed Hollywood hills with cantilevered houses in seemingly perilous positions. Visitors often ask, don't they ever fall down? A few have been known to do that, particularly after heavy rains trigger mudslides. The most famous house in the hills is the so-called Flying Saucer House. Further west is Beverly Hills and the world-famous Beverly Hills Hotel, nicknamed the Pink Palace by locals. Chaplin, Garbo, and Gable all resided here at various times in their luxurious bungalows. In one, Howard Hughes demanded privacy and communicated by leaving messages in a tree outside. There's the posh Beverly Wilshire, where Warren Beatty occupied the penthouse for 10 years. Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills' capital of conspicuous consumerism, cynics have dubbed it the Golden Ghetto, the most expensive shopping street in the world. A store lease costs $200 a square foot monthly. Valet parking is available just to visit the street, not provided by an individual store. And some of those stores are open by appointment only. Rodeo is only 2.5 blocks long, just a 10-minute walk if you don't browse. But if a purchase is contemplated, bring money, bring a lot of it. On Rodeo, celebrity status does not always guarantee a parking space. Shirley Jones also had to feed the meter. Rodeo has now become a major tourist attraction, and one rodeo merchant took advantage of this. Fred Heyman put some lifelike statues in front of his store to suggest to visitors they take souvenir pictures of Fred Heyman's of Beverly Hills. Many visit Beverly Hills to see the homes of the stars. That has created a mini industry, the selling of maps, many times not totally accurate, in order to locate them. It appears a boring job. The homes are close together. There just isn't that much land available in this little city of 32,000, where there's one doctor for every 32 residents, one psychiatrist for every 450. There are 128 restaurants, but no McDonald's, no Taco Bells. Not in this city, which has the highest per capita income in the United States. Today, few personalities live in the homes with which they're closely associated. The rather small house is where Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe spent a few honeymoon months. This was the one-time home of Elizabeth Taylor. Lucille Ball's longtime home is still the most requested to be seen. Jack Benny's home became a fixture on his television show. His longtime friend George Burns lived nearby and still does. Lana Turner had a lot of trouble with a boyfriend in this house. There's a vacant lot next to Jimmy Stewart's house. It's his vegetable garden, the only vegetable garden anyone knows of in Beverly Hills. The most prestigious organization of Hollywood is in Beverly Hills, the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. The Los Angeles Music Center is usually the location of their annual presentation ceremony, the Oscars. Die-hard movie fans come days in advance. These are veterans hoping to capture one of the few available bleacher seats. 10 years of waiting at the gate for each new ceremony was a low figure for anyone in this group. Then, the day itself. Among arrivals being interviewed is Efren Zimbalist Jr. and a couple of old friends, Dinah Shore and Barbara Eden. An old newsreel showed earlier ceremonies held at Hollywood's Pantages Theater. It provided unrehearsed memories of Hollywood's great. This time, Greer Garson had to direct traffic for Bogey. This monument illustrates movie people gave Beverly Hills legitimacy. About to be annexed by Los Angeles, those named here banded together, swung an election, and Beverly Hills became independent. Will Rogers was a leader in that fight. Will is remembered at the Will Rogers State Park in Pacific Palisades, his ranch home for many years. Will loved polo, and it still played here on weekends. During his time, his polo-playing cronies represented Hollywood's illustrious, Jack Warner, Spencer Tracy, Darryl Zanuck, Walt Disney, among others. Celebrities still often participate in these weekend matches, but their names are never announced in advance. An aside, reputedly, that mecca of Hollywood deal-making, the Polo Lounge in the Beverly Hills Hotel, was named by those who would adjourn here for liquid refreshment after completing a polo match at Will's Ranch. From Hollywood, over the Cahuenga Pass is the San Fernando Valley. On the way is the Hollywood Bowl. Each summer, this huge natural amphitheater presents a diversity of live performance. In early Hollywood, this site was used as a location for low-budget westerns. Later on, a Mrs. Christine Stevenson, heiress to the Pittsburgh paint fortune, decided Hollywood needed a little religion. She purchased this area, then known as Daisy Dell, and presented religious plays. The plays didn't sell, but the first Easter sunrise service was held, and that tradition has continued for more than 70 years. It can be quite cool early on Easter mornings, certainly for warm-blooded Southern Californians. Hollywood personalities have always played a leading role in the sunrise service, a side of Hollywood seldom seen by the outside world, nor reported upon by the gossip tabloid press. Robert Guillaume, a very fine actor, is better known for several sitcoms. On this Easter morning, he demonstrated a beautiful baritone singing voice. Standing next to Robert is a veteran of Hollywood's glamorous past, Rhonda Fleming. The traditional closing of the service, the release of the doves of peace, as early morning sun floods the amphitheater. Many different religious denominations are represented during the service. When visiting the bowl, don't overlook their delightful museum, a journey through the history of the bowl and of the music culture of Hollywood and of Los Angeles. Burbank is in the San Fernando Valley and the home of Warner Brothers, which has the largest permanent workforce of any studio. A tribute to one of their great, Bugs, is now 50. Warner's has a daily VIP tour, only 12 guests each time, but reservations can be had by calling ahead. Dick Mason manages the tour.
Within the studio, we present a very intimate, small VIP tour. I have worked here 31 years, and I've spent area time in both production, publicity, and eventually created and set up the VIP tour, which I've been describing. We take our walk through the lot spontaneously. We don't use routes, and we do a little something different every day. Well, we're starting into one of our major exterior sets right here. This is called the Midwest Street. It's been around here a long time. It's been used on lots and lots of shows. Has an interesting feature to it. It could be 1989, 1889, or 1789. It depends how you dress it. And we're going to take a little walk down through the street and give you a little idea of some of the stuff that we worked on in here. For example, the house right behind me here, this old haunted-looking house was used in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which was a New World picture that rented space here at the Burbank Studios. And this became Elvira's house that she inherits in the story. But at the time the picture was made, it was all psychedelically painted, different colors, but that was all washed off at the completion of the production. That's kind of like the haunted house here. But a little further up, we have what we call our nice house. This house right over here. This is where Dorothy McGuire and Robert Preston lived in Dark at the Top of the Stairs. This is where Jackie Gleason lived in Papa's Delicate Condition. Kings Row, a very famous early 40s film, was the reason this whole area was built. One of the stars of Kings Row, of course, was our former president, Ronald Reagan. At the time we made Kings Row, it was a dirted street. The cement came in later. Now, a little further down from this one, we got what we call our White House. Nothing to do with the White House in Washington, but we just have the names for the different sets. This was used quite extensively in Altered States, a William Hurt film a few years ago, directed by Ken Russell. This, among other things, was the Jimmy Stewart's doctor's office home in what turned out to be John Wayne's last motion picture, The Shootist. Now, as we come into the square, this was all used in The Music Man. This was River City for The Music Man. 76 trombones was played all around this park here. The whole set was dressed for that production. Steven Spielberg's production of Gremlins also had work on the set. Cool Hand Luke was in here, Bonnie and Clyde was in here, and about 26 Doris Day movies were in here. This is Doris Day Land. Every studio needs a Western town. Some of the major stars that worked in here were Gary Cooper, John Wayne, Randolph Scott, Kirk Douglas, Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, Alan Ladd, as just a few examples. Years back, Warner Brothers had a lot of television work that they did in the Western genre. We had Maverick with James Garner, we had Cheyenne with Clint Walker, we had Sugarfoot with Will Hutchins, we had Colt 45 with Wade Preston, we had Forrest Tucker in F Troop, excuse me, it was called F Troop, and then we had David Carradine in Kung Fu. All of those Western style series had work done on the street. A few commercials back here, some record album covers, a couple of rock videos have also had some work done on the set. It's been here since the 40s. I think the person who used this set the most, however, would have been Randolph Scott, who made a whole series of Western films in the 40s into the 50s when he had contract time with Warner Brothers in a partnership on a production company.
Near Warner's are the skyscrapers of Universal City, home of Universal Pictures and the Universal Studio Tour. Universal was the first studio to open for tours so visitors could sample movie making. By tram, you pass the vast backlot and sound stages that have witnessed so much movie history. Colonial Street. Many tour visitors remember this house, the Beaver House. Later, Ronald Reagan lived here in Bedtime for Bonzo. Eventually, it became Marcus Welby, MD's home and office. Doris Day and James Garner worked here in The Thrill of It All, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho House. Most sets are quite flimsy, often fiberglass, no backing, less than normal size for camera perspective. Little Europe Street was the scene of Dracula, Frankenstein, and where Allied troops marched here during All Quiet on the Western Front. The Roman Senate building from Spartacus. There are also surprises for tour visitors. Stunt people demonstrate their talent several times a day. Fights are staged on the Western set. You can see how special effects are created. The recreation of an earthquake, computer controlled from the film Earthquake. Safely on the tram, all will survive. An interested spectator, the star of that film, Charlton Heston. But perhaps to calm earthquake jitters, some jitterbugging with the monster. Recreation of an action sequence from the television series Miami Vice. Earlier, a big gorilla named King Kong made millions for the studio. Kong still works for Universal. To make his eyes move presented a real challenge for the special effects people. Also fun is the entertainment center.
45 to go!
Remember that creature from the deep in the film Jaws. Many visitors want to see an actual film being shot. Occasionally, there's one on Hollywood Boulevard. But to be assured of that opportunity, just opposite the Chinese Theater, look for this sign. In this building is the Film Permit Office, and for a small fee, you can obtain a listing of all films being shot that day on the streets of Los Angeles, and you can be virtually assured of seeing some of Hollywood's famous at work. Those who have the opportunity to witness a high-budget feature film on location are often amazed by the number of behind-the-scenes people, sometimes well over 100. But all have a role to play. The absence of just the right technician or craftsman can cause a major delay, and a delay on a big feature can cost thousands of dollars a minute. There are the camera and sound people, makeup, costume, the grips. They're the people who move things around, and the stunt people. To the observer, it seems so slow. Most often, it's because the lighting director needs so much time to get the set properly lit. The director's like a general. He has his subordinates, the ADs, the assistant directors, who boss people around like Army drill sergeants. Well, far down the pecking order are the gophers, who are just that. They do things like coffee for the star. Actually, directing a major film is a bit like directing an army in battle. Constant problems, weather, equipment, those directives from above, egos, and frustrations. The film eventually becomes a world in itself. Weeks, sometimes months of close association. Then one day it's over, and everyone goes his separate way to start another film. The television networks all have facilities in Hollywood. The newest is Fox. ABC is quartered where one of Hollywood's first studios, Vitagraph, began filming in 1915. CBS is housed in facilities called Television City. NBC has huge facilities located in beautiful downtown Burbank, as it is so often described by Johnny Carson. The studio is located near a street named for one of those famous NBC stars, Bob Hope Drive. They have a booth where tickets to NBC shows can be obtained. All these happy wonders, appropriately dressed for a California July day, have tickets to see this day's taping of The Tonight Show, taped afternoon for evening broadcast. The taping theaters are quite small, 400 or so seats, and for popular shows, the demand always exceeds the supply. Therefore, write the network in advance to see a popular show. NBC has a studio tour where you can learn how television operates and see yourself on television. Also learn a few tricks of the trade. He is not flying over the California coast. It's just superimposed as background. This is a device television calls chroma key. Wherever you go in Southern California, you'll be confronted with the freeways. 900 miles of them in the greater Los Angeles area. Many merge in a huge stack interchange in the center of the city. Someone once described a map of the freeway system as a confused octopus. Yet locals tell you it's so simple. You just need to know what freeway is required and what lane you need be in. Otherwise, you may end up in Mexico. You may need the Hollywood Freeway, but there's also the Pasadena, the Harbor, the Long Beach, the Santa Ana, the San Diego, the Pomona, the Santa Monica, the Golden State, and the Glendale Freeway. And all the while, locals keep telling you it's so simple. Perhaps to soothe the millions who commute, there are massive freeway murals, something to look at while you're jammed in gridlock. Ethnic pride often has a role to play. Industry also joined in Hog Heaven, a porker paradise. It's on the walls of a meat packer, Farmer John. Hollywood is often featured, Steve McQueen, and in central Los Angeles, a huge Anthony Quinn. One freeway, the Pasadena, will take you to naturally Pasadena, home of the Rose Bowl and the Tournament of Roses parade. Go the day before to watch the floats being covered with flowers. Today, Hollywood personalities and technicians figure importantly in the parade, but that was not always the case. Much earlier, conservative Pasadena was reluctant to give upstart Hollywood a role to play. But eventually, they came to realize Hollywood personalities could be instrumental in making the parade an international event, thus creating worldwide fame for Pasadena. This New Year's Day, one could ski even in sunny Pasadena. Or bowl. The American Bowling Congress said, "Let the good times roll." Hollywood stunt women were strapped to the wings of colorful biplanes. They were followed by a very flirtatious pussycat. The noblest of nobles, a huge Superman, perhaps too much excitement for a very coy hippo. Evil did lurk among them, even created with flowers, Frankenstein's monster terrified a damsel in distress. This lady said, "Look, the monster lives, the monster moved." Many years ago, a child movie star was the grand marshal of the parade. 50 years later, she returned with her granddaughter. Shirley Temple was again the grand marshal of the parade. Again, Hollywood found its way to Pasadena. In Pasadena, there is also the Doo-Dah Parade, where they tell you a float is a float, and that their parade, the Torment of Roses, features the Nose Bowl game, where zanies march with supermarket carts, lawnmowers, or odd musical instruments. This all began a few years ago, when some young Pasadena people decided the Rose Parade was getting too formal and needed to be lightened up a bit. Early December is the time of the doodah. Someone asked the ironing board drill team, "When do you rehearse?" The answer, "When do we do what?" The sign reads, "Put a wrinkle in your life, hire an older worker." Doodahers say it takes a lot of backbone to be in this parade. Santa Claus brought his own outhouse. It gets crowded on Doodah Day. The Banker Precision Drill Team a little marching exercise might be suitable for some watching. Anyone for lunch? At this point, a parade marshal told the crowd, "You don't need a lot upstairs to be in this parade." The sign read, "Kill a roach and go to jail." The Long Beach Ski Club had semi-synchronized seats. The Flasher Drill Team. Watch the guys with the coats. The corrugated congregation said they spent little money on costumes and props. The parade had a king and queen, appropriately dressed for the occasion. There's a town in California called 29 Palms. They had their own precision drill team, a sort of a precision. The Long Beach Yacht Club said they couldn't sink, not with those spare tires around the waist. Pasadena people often say, "You think Hollywood is crazy? Come to Pasadena on Doodah Day." Reads, "Quakes are not your fault, as even the Sirius is spoofed, a California earthquake." Next came the California Bag People's Bagpipe Band, dressed in the latest street fashion. And for all Southern Californians, a daily event in their lives, a freeway traffic jam. In conclusion, Our Lady, Queen of Miseries, told all, "Repent, the end is here." Experts theorize that Hollywood's position as the entertainment capital of the world was enhanced by the amazing growth and financial wealth of Los Angeles. Others say Hollywood's aura triggered all that in the first place. But everyone agrees climate had much to do with it. The skyline of central Los Angeles has changed dramatically over the past few years. Skyscrapers abound. New earthquake preventative methods relaxed previous height restrictions, and the city grew skyward. There are now commissioned sculptures by the world's foremost artists. A rapid transit system, subway system, is now in operation, but is a few years away from completion. In Southern California, a continuing influx of immigrants has created great ethnic diversity which in turn provided Hollywood with the culture and talent to recreate the world on studio backlots. Los Angeles was originally a part of Mexico. Vera Street has always been a focal point for the Mexican community. Little Tokyo in the Japanese Plaza Mall is a reminder that the Pacific Rim is also well represented. Chinatown is one of the oldest ethnic communities of Los Angeles. And on this day, firecrackers were celebrating New Year's. Southern California's automobile-oriented society eventually created a worldwide phenomenon, shopping malls. Beverly Center is one of the best. It boasts a watering hole for the young, the Hard Rock Cafe, and fans of hard rock shop on nearby Melrose Avenue. Here are adventurous restaurants, radical fashions, and design stores. For a friend's birthday, how about a sexy telegram, a personally delivered bumps and grindogram? Perhaps some Texas soul food, or at a place called Off the Wall, you can get that plastic cow you always wanted. But if you want a dress worn by Barbra Streisand, there's A Star Is Worn. For the kiddies, the last wound up, trendy teenagers buy shoes at Flash Feet of London. Trashy lingerie sign reads, unique appearing clothes for unique appearing people. She might have said, did you see that girl with the red hair? Red hair might be off to lunch at Genghis Cohen's restaurant. Hollywood's fashion-conscious young trendsetters discover Melrose offers them the latest in couture cool. For the visitor, Melrose provides a good show in and outside the stores. Today, it offers one of the liveliest scenes in Los Angeles. But long before the flamboyant, trendy decoration of Melrose, there was another architectural institution. Near Beverly Hills, the tale of the pup. New construction nearly destroyed it, but longtime Hollywood hot dog fans caused it to be picked up and moved. Like the pup, early Los Angeles fast food emporiums often reflected the product. Randy's Donuts is a long-time favorite. Perhaps the donut hole created the drive-through concept, and one can discover classic quiche at this Venice building. But for a more traditional view of architecture, look to the great museums. The County Museum of Art in its new digs, an appropriate description as adjacent are the La Brea tar pits. La Brea is Spanish for tar seeped from the pits. It was used by early Indians as a sealant. Later, geologists discovered the pits had trapped reptiles and mammals. Today, the seeping from the pits provides intriguing looks at a far distant past. The J. Paul Getty Museum. This replica of a Roman villa houses a magnificent display of art. A highlight, Degas' famed Waiting. and the gardens at the Huntington Library and Art Gallery. Their most famous painting is Gainsborough's Blue Boy. The museums attracted some of the world's greatest art historians and curators. Hollywood took advantage of this creativity, at least for those of Hollywood who strive for authenticity. The beach has always been a lure for Hollywood people, as well as all Southern Californians. The beach at Santa Monica has always been foremost. In the early days, many of the film great had glamorous beach homes along a stretch of beach called the Gold Coast. Cary Grant, Mae West, Harold Lloyd, Louis B. Mayer. Contemporary stars still migrate here. Barbra Streisand, Larry Hagman, among the many. For longtime Southern Californians, the Santa Monica Beach brings back many memories. Long before Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, the Santa Monica Pier was the amusement park. Moviegoers have seen its vintage merry-go-round many times. It's been featured in scores of movies, most notably for its featured role in the movie The Sting. Each of its 56 hand-carved horses is completely different. Recently restored, the pier remains a symbol of the innocent seashore Santa Monica once was. Further south, still on the Pacific Ocean, is the Venice Beach Recreation Area. It's a weekend circus, a crazy quilt of families, pretty girls, beach bums, physical culturists, and artists. Illustrates the Hollywoodish, anything goes counterculture. Weekends provide the best show. Bring along some pocket change. Street entertainers expect it. Many, no doubt, hope this exposure will prompt a Hollywood offer. There are those serious about sports, paddleboard. Almost every type of wheeled vehicle can be seen. One shouldn't try to compete with these Venice veterans. Dance groups usually appear on weekends, most often ethnic in origin. Again, the only admission is a pocket change contribution. Remember Limbo? Don't worry, he won't spill a drop. One youngster volunteered. Afterwards, he might have had second thoughts. But the smile indicates all is well. Muscle Beach has been a Venice institution for years. Blue Shirt might have said, unbelievable. Heavies work out in the weight pen, while onlookers may dream of lifting weights, oiling their bodies, and then walking down the boardwalk with that Muscle Beach strut. The California beaches have provided a vehicle for Hollywood filmmakers even since the days of the Mack Sennett bathing beauties of the Silence. Later, the carefree lifestyle of California surfers inspired those popular teenage beach movies of the 50s. Surfing was introduced to California from Hawaii in the early 1900s. Real estate promoters latched onto this as a device to sell the outdoor life of California to the rest of the world. California surfers brag about being the world's best, but for some, a little more skill may be required. For some people, it's much more relaxing at Fisherman's Village in nearby Marina del Rey. Today, Marina del Rey has become the world's largest small boat harbor with moorings for more than 10,000 private pleasure craft. Hollywood people and Hollywood wealth were instrumental in transforming this marine marshland into beachfront homes and boat docks. A relaxing way to see the harbor is to be piped aboard the Marina Hornblower by some California hoedown music and enjoy a midday brunch touring the harbor. Marina del Rey is extremely popular with the wealthy of Los Angeles and the new rich of Hollywood. Those who have homes or condos can dock their yachts here. Well, current Hollywood gossip is that the marina is choice territory for those who consider Santa Monica's beaches too common and Malibu's pricey real estate too exclusive. Nightlife on Hollywood Boulevard has a carnival-like atmosphere, but Hollywood's famous are remembered. Many say Hollywood's best restaurant is its oldest, the Musso Frank Grill. Cinema Collectors is where movie memorabilia fans can have a field today. They say they have the stuff dreams are made of. The Golden Arches are also in neon. Try movie-going at the Chinese Theater or Disney's El Capitan. Galaxy Complex has theater, shopping, and cafes. The Hollywood Palladium was the mecca of the big bands of the 30s and 40s. Now it hosts mostly special events. This night, the annual Comedy Awards, with limousines, the press, fans, and of course, celebrities. One reporter told Phyllis Diller, "Phyllis, you look great." She joked back, "I should. I've had more tucks than the Queen's ball gown." Among those honored, Dick Van Dyke and the actor Leslie Nielsen for his change of pace comedy roles. The honored guest was the playwright Neil Simon. His friends call him Doc, author of comedy gems like The Odd Couple or Barefoot in the Park, among scores of others. Also honored, Jack Carter, who appeared quite chipper. Steve Allen and his wife Jane Meadows were among the presenters. Inside, those receiving awards were ushered into the press room for interviews. Three great comedians were having fun together. Betty White, B. Arthur, those Golden Girls, and Rhea Perlman from Cheers. Walter Matthau presented the award to Neil Simon. Later, Dick Van Dyke presented the Lifetime Achievement Award to a comedy legend, Red Skelton. Many comedy stars got their first exposure at the Comedy Store, where autographs now pepper the outside walls. Eddie Murphy and Whoopi Goldberg contrast with Debbie Reynolds and Milton Berle. It was once the great supper club of the 30s, Ciro's. Many first started as performers at Disneyland, despite the fact that Disneyland is located south of Los Angeles in Orange County. Most consider it very much in Hollywood's orbit. It was the genius of Hollywood artists, craftsmen, and technicians, coupled with the vision of Walt Disney, who created this $200 million repository of magic and fantasy. The Columbia, a fully rigged sailing ship, passes Frontierland. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad offers a ride through floods, swarms of bats, and mudslides. The Big Splash is appropriately named. Most days, Disneyland has parades when the legends of Disney movie magic pass before you. Hopefully, those Disney legends will never die, and hopefully, neither will Hollywood's unique gifts to all of us. The gift of laughter, fantasy, escape, social comment, and occasionally a thought-provoking art form. So let us salute and say, hooray for Hollywood!